they talked about the archons were the, if you like, like cyborg, we would call it, troops of something they call the demiurge. And the demiurge is what Christians call the devil and this negative force. And what these writings said is that this reality that we're experiencing was not created by some divine force. It was created by the demiurge and the archons, and it was a fake reality. And that they manipulated by accessing the human psyche and manipulating humans' perception of reality. And there was some very, very interesting things that they said about the archons. And one was that they lacked the ability to express the creative force. I would put it like this. If you gave them a blank sheet of paper and said, create something like a reality, they couldn't do it. But what the Gnostic writings say is they're experts at taking something that already exists, like the reality before this hijack, as I would call it, the one we experience now, and twist it. They piggyback something already created and twist it. Something else, they said the archons did. And, you're going back to something that's been estimated, I think, around 400 AD, these writings were buried. And that is that the archons parasite off everything. They parasite off human society in many, many different forms. And I read this stuff and I'm going, whoa, this is my own books over the years, found in a jar in Egypt. Not all the detail of my books, but the basic themes, because it fitted totally. And then you go to the Islamic belief. And not just the Islamic belief, because this came from pre-Islamic Arabia originally. And that is the very considerable focus in Islam on energetic beings they call the jinn. And when you look at the jinn and you look at what the Gnostics said about the archons, hallelujah, hello, they're the same thing. And then you go around other cultures and you see the same recurring theme. And so when you look then at human society, who creates? What is the creative force within human society? Humans.
Should be.
What do these families that I've been exposing all these years, what do? They piggyback off that creative force and manipulate it and direct it in a way that suits them. What do these network of families also do? They parasite off human effort, human labour, human energy, human creativity. The banking system, I rest my case. What is the global banking system except a structure totally focused on parasiting the energy and off the efforts of the human population? What is taxation? In the way that it is today, it is parasiting of human efforts and human creativity. So, what I also found interesting is that the archons are described as we would say, like cyborgs. They're almost like, they're computer-like. And they serve this force they call the demiurge. Well, I've been talking about these reptilian entities that operate outside human sight but can come in, and the archons can, but they can't stay for long because of the frequency difference. They can come in for a while, but it takes so much energy to stay in our reality because it's not their natural frequency band that they can't stay for long. And what they've done, just a quick aside before I continue that thing about the reptilians, what they've done is they have created a network of bloodline families going way back to the ancient world, which represent their interests with invisible light because they can't come here and stay for very long. So these families, where their outer human form, if you like, is operating within the frequency band of visible light, they are the Archon representatives within human society. And this is why you get this network of families that sit on top of the banking system, the transnational corporation network, the media ownership level, top of science, top of the education system, top of the military, top of the global intelligence network. These are these families representing what the Gnostics call the Archons. And I was just going to say a few minutes ago, when you look at how these Archons are described, they're just like the reptilians that I've been writing about for years in terms of their computer-like structured to the point of obsession society, which absolutely knows its hierarchical place. Every level knows its hierarchical place in it. And it's very robot-like and computer-like. It's not a flowing creative force. It's very structured. Boom, boom. And that's how the Archons are described.
They have no compassion, no
yes. I mean,
empathy.
The only one time I've taken psychoactive drugs in my life was in 2003 in a rainforest in Brazil when I took a rainforest potion called ayahuasca. And I went into, I had an amazing time, some people have bad time on it, and for 5 hours, this voice, so strong when I went into an altered state of perception, talked to me so loudly and so powerful about the illusory nature of reality for 5 hours. And when I came back, and because I had instant memory of all of it, when I came back and checked it all out, you could see very quickly that mainstream science in all its different disciplines has shown that what I was told that night is true, but because the disciplines are kept apart and are war with each other for funding and precedence, that the dots never get put together because they're not meant to. We're not supposed to know what reality we are experiencing. It gives us too much power once we know. And this voice said to me at one point, about when he's talking about the computer-like nature of these manipulators, if you programmed a computer to abuse a child, would the computer have any problem with it? No. Why? Because it would just decode the data and act in line with the data, the software program. And this reptilian force is very much like that. Very structured, very predictable. And interestingly, because most people don't realize this, but one of the most important parts of the human brain in terms of human behavior, response and reaction to situations is called the reptilian brain, or the R complex. And when you look at the traits of the reptilian brain within the human brain, of course other parts of the brain balance that out, or should do, but when you have more reptilian genetics, those traits of the reptilian brain are obviously more extreme and more pronounced. And one of this is mainstream science, one of the key traits of the reptilian brain is obsessive ritualistic behavior. And what is ritualistic behavior? It's following the same pattern, day after day, week after week, repeating repetitious behavior. Now, this is robotic. And so you've got the reptilians described in those terms, the archons described in those terms, etc. And these forces are different expressions and names for the same thing. Now, one of the manifestations of this network of bloodlines that represent this archonic reptilian force within human society is the royal families going back to the ancient world and the aristocratic families that surround them. Why? Because where did the idea that certain bloodlines should be king or queen of a people, and you have this hierarchy, because this is the other thing about reptilian genetics and the reptilian brain, it's obsessed with hierarchical structures of power. Look at our world. Look at the royal families and the aristocracy. It's absolutely rigid with hierarchy. Everyone knows their place. You're a viscount, you're a baron, you're a lord, you're a king, you're a prince, and all this stuff. This is the human expression, or the partly human expression, because they're hybrids, of the reptilian archon obsession with hierarchical structure manifested in our world. Because what they're doing is bringing that archonic reptilian reality into our world and making our world like theirs more and more and more.